Hello, everyone. I miss you so much. I hope all of y'all are doing really well during this incredible time that we are experiencing in our lives. Um, anyway, stay safe, please, and be careful. Anyway, so let's talk about statistics. And of course, there's incredible statistics going on with what we're experiencing, but let's talk about what you're going to need to know and hopefully make more sense out of what you see in the real world. So we did this before you left. I don't know how many of y'all remember it, so I'm going to give you a little quick review of it. We're talking about statistics, and we have different ways of measuring that. Okay. First off, we have when you measure ways of measuring variation in your data, you can either look at the center of your data, and when you do that, we use the three things called mean, median, and mode. Or you can look at the spread or variability of the data, and we use something called standard deviation or a box and whisker plot, also known as a box plot or a 5-number summary. So when you get a set of data, you're going to create a histogram, and I'm going to refresh your memories on how to do that with ClassCalc. Sorry, somebody distracted me. See, it happens no matter where I am. Anyway, this is a histogram, not a bar chart, because the bars touch each other. And these are representing intervals of data as opposed to qualitative data. It's more of a quantity. So when you look at your distributions, you're looking to see whether the data is symmetric or skewed. Okay? And when you do, you're really looking and you want to think to yourself, where's the tail? So in this particular example, the tail is where it kind of trails off, and the tail is on the left side. So we say this data is negative or left skewed, negatively skewed data. There is no obvious tail in this data, so it is symmetric. And this one, my tail is on the right side where our positive numbers, so it's positive or right skewed data. Okay? Now, notice what it's showing you about this mean, median, and how they change according to the data. Okay, so when it's symmetric, the mean and median are basically in the same place. But when you have skewed data, okay, then they're not in the same place. And this is often caused by something called outliers. And outliers are those numbers that are kind of way off everything else. The example I used in class, we might have an average on a test of an 85, and then somebody gets a 40. That would be an outlier. Okay. Now, one of these, or a set of statistics, be it is resistant to outliers. One is not resistant to outliers. So the one that is not resistant or affected by outliers is your mean and standard deviation, and the one that is less affected is your median. So when we have outliers, okay, that's kind of how we're choosing which set of statistics that we're going to use to actually describe the data. So if your data is symmetrical, in essence free of outliers, we're going to use the mean and standard deviation. If it is skewed or has outliers, we're going to use the 5-number summary. So that's the criteria that you're going to use to decide which set of statistics you're going to use. Now, I mentioned that y'all have done this 5-number summary before. It's a minimum quartile 1 or Q1. This is referred to as Q1. This is referred to as Q3. Okay. And then you have your median. This is when you put that data in order. And then the middle number, or the average of the two middle numbers, is your median. And then you have a bottom half. This would be the median of the bottom half, and that would be the median of your top half. Okay, but I'm going to show you. So that's an easy thing that y'all have done in the past by hand, but I'm going to show you again how to do it with ClassCalc. So the first set of data is a bunch of lab grades, and we are going to go to ClassCalc. And when you go into ClassCalc, okay, usually it comes up looking like this. You're going to click in the top right corner and click on scientific, and you want to go to graphing, which I just happen to have in another tab to make my video faster for you. Okay. And when you're plotting the data, I would encourage you to set up a variable. Doesn't matter which one you choose. I chose A equals, and then you're going to have a bracket and then you're going to list the data with a bunch of commas. Okay. After you have put all the data, it tells you how many items you have in your list. So when I go back to it, if I were to go back to my data, there are 4 times 6. I know that I have 24 pieces of data, which is what that says. So I have all my data in here. Now I want to create a histogram. So on my graphing tab, I'm going to hit Stat. I want a distribution or a plot, and I want a histogram. So I click on histogram, and I'm going to type the letter A, because that is what my data set was that I put right here. And I always want the bin width for our examples and what we're doing this year. We want our bin width to be 5. So I hit 5 and I push enter, and it's going to come up. Now, with a lot of data, it takes longer. I made sure that there's not a lot of data when you do your lesson check. So you have plenty of time to do this when you do the lesson check. Okay? You just got to wait. And when you see it blinking, you know that it's done, but you're worried because you're like, I don't see anything. Okay? Click on the magnifying glass right here, and it will bring the data, bring your graph. It'll center in on where your graph is. And of course, you can maximize or minimize whatever you wish to do at that point. So from here, I need to describe that distribution. Okay? So if I go back here to my data, it says construct a histogram, use it to describe the shape. Well, what is my shape? It is symmetric. So if it is symmetric, what am I going to use? The mean and standard deviation or the 5-number summary? If it's symmetric, I'm going to use the mean and standard deviation. So now I'm going to tell you how to do that with ClassCalc. So I'm going to come back here, and I'm going to tap on this next line, and I'm going to go to Stat, and I'm going to hit Advanced, and I'm going to go to One Variable Statistics. And again, my data set is A, so I'm going to hit Enter. Again, 24 is a long list. I will tell you, ClassCalc is awesome, and they paused refining their statistics calculator so they could get simplifying radicals in there for us. So we're applauding ClassCalc and not going to complain. Their next build will be faster with these more numbers in it. So what you need to know on this is which of these symbols is the mean and which is the standard deviation. So I wrote it down on the screen, you'll see. But that X with a bar over it is your mean. And then 2 down from that, this is a lowercase sigma sub X. That is my standard deviation. So when I go back to my notes, I'm going to write down, here's the graph that we just had, symmetric distribution. Okay, and my mean, X bar, is 81.25%. That's the label that was with the problem. And the standard deviation is my sigma sub X, and that is 9.29%. Okay, so need to be aware, sometimes data can have subgroups or clusters, in which case you would have 2 modes or 2 peaks, in which case it is referred to as a bimodal distribution. So here's a set of data. They've told us it's bimodal. Again, I went ahead and put the data in there because I wanted to speed our process up. Okay, so here's my data. I chose B this time, equals bracket, listed all of the elements. See, I have 30 elements in my list. And here's my histogram with a bin width of 5. Now you can click this thing on and off, and you can see over here where there it is right there. There's part of it. If you click on the magnifying glass, it will center in on your data. It's taking a minute. Okay. Now you can clearly see here. Okay, I put it in the notes as well, but I've got 2 peaks. So this part right here is symmetric. So I'm using the one variable statistics, and this part right here is positively skewed because the tail is on the right. So I will tell you that I took all of that data and I sorted the data and then figured out, see right here, this interval is from 40 to 45. And if you hover over this point, it tells you that there's 2 numbers in there from 40 to 45. So I know that 41 and 42, that's where my data stops. So my left side, I re-entered the data, and that is symmetric. So I'm going to get the mean and the standard deviation. And then the right side is going to start at 45 and go to the end, and that is positively skewed. So this time I want the min Q1, median Q3, and max, which is my 5-number summary. Okay, so again, we looked at the data. It was bimodal. This is what it looked like. Okay, come down just a tad for you. And then because it's bimodal, I'm looking at each peak set of data separately. I have a left and a right. My left, we said, was symmetric, so I used the mean and the standard deviation. And you can look back that's what we got in ClassCalc. And on the right side, it is positively skewed, so we use the min, Q1, median, Q3, and max. Okay, so y'all pause the video. If you have any questions, write it down so that you'll know where to go back and look, or if you want to remember how to do something. Okay, or if you have any questions for me, it's a great thing to do. Okay, the last thing we need to talk about are box plots. You've done these before, but when you have to describe symmetric or skewed, we obviously don't have a tail, but we look at which whisker is longer. So this left whisker is longer. That's going to be negatively skewed. My whiskers are the same. It's going to be symmetric. My right one is longer, so this is positively skewed. So they want us to describe a distribution using a box plot. So again, I have gone and put that data into ClassCalc. I used the letter A this time, put the data in just like I had. I checked that I didn't skip any elements. So I put that in, and to refresh your memory, I have to make a box plot. I should go back to, well, it's fine. It's where it is. Stat, distribution, plots. They said a box plot. So this time I'm doing a box plot. And my data set is A. So when I push enter, and again, that didn't take as long. I didn't have so many. But if you can't see those numbers, again, click on the magnifying glass, and it's right there. One of the things, if you have any trouble and don't like the color, if you down click, or that's not what I wanted to do. If you hold it down, then you can go change the color. And y'all know how much I like purple. So purple it is. The other thing that they asked us in this problem was construct your box plot, use it to describe the shape of the distribution. So it's clear that my left whisker is longer than my right whisker. So we're going to say this is negatively skewed. And I need the one variable stats. So I'm going to go to statistics, advanced, one variable stats. Oh, you know what? Don't put that in there. You got to go to the next line. Stat, advanced, one variable stats, and my list is A. And then I'm going to put that in there, and there are my numbers. So that, and you can kind of look and see if this makes sense. Okay, 5,500, there's my min. My Q1 is 7,000. My median is 7,900. My Q3 is 8,700. And my max is 9,200. So when I put that back in, as we said, we graphed it. So it's looking like that. I just described those to you. It is negatively skewed because my whisker on the left is longer. And I need the 5-number summary. And there is the data that we got from our 5-number summary. So that is the end of 11.1a, using statistics to summarize the data. Please don't hesitate to email me or can't come see me right now, but set up an appointment or email me, and I would love to help you if you have any questions. So have a great day. Talk to you soon.